Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and I read Jamie Lynn Spears' book, Things I Should Have Said. For real. You guys actually paid me to do it. Oh my God, I'm so grateful. I still don't know if it was worth it, but yes, you guys paid me over $2,000 to destroy my brain cells and read this book. And so this is what I've done for you. I've made a huge epic review I'll be dropping later today. It's long. It's only part 1 of 2 because I went into so much detail, guys, for you guys. Oh my God. But I know a lot of you don't want to sit and watch an hour-long review of Jamie Lynn's book. So here, without further ado, are the top 10 most insane reveals from Things I Should Have Said, okay? Thanks to you guys for funding all these videos. You guys asked for it. So if you're wondering, why is Andy posting all these videos? Because my audience demanded it. All right, number 10. Did you guys know that Jamie Lynn auditioned for Twilight and almost barfed during it? She was pregnant at that point, just learning about it, and why do we care about name-dropping stories? She does this so much throughout the book. She'll just name, there's Lily Collins that I waved to, as if there's a story to be told there, but there isn't one. She literally just waves at Lily Collins at the audition for Twilight, which she couldn't read for because she got so sick she had to leave. And I always was one for professionalism, so my lack of effort was alarming. I needed to leave. Every time she has a moment to like talk about meeting a Garth Brooks or being on the Mickey Mouse Club, she just relishes in it, but she never has anything interesting to say. But I did kind of find it funny that she almost barfed at the Twilight audition, which she didn't get, mind you. All right, but getting into the juicy stuff. Number 9, she was an accident, guys. She admits that it was never planned. Like millions of babies, I was an oops. Again, ripping Britney Spears right there with the oops. Yeah, they weren't expected to have any more children. And I expected this maybe to come back in an interesting way. Here she is writing a book about her life. Later in life, she becomes a teen mom where it's planned. Maybe there'll be some interesting parallels she learns from it. Nope. Jamie Lynn Spears is a terrible author and never really makes those connections. She does sort of once later, but never really takes advantage of that. All right, getting into number 8. Jamie Lynn never read Lynn's book Through the Storm. And what's interesting here is this passage. Mama and Miss Lou, they came together as guiding forces in my life and even coordinated the deal for Mama's book. I saw firsthand the difficulties that Mama and Britney suffered after my sister read it, and I wanted to avoid the possible outrage reading her words would evoke. So here you have Jamie Lynn revealing that she's never read the book, that Lou Taylor was the one behind the book. I wonder if she's behind this book, guys. And then acknowledges that Britney suffered reading this book. And here she is writing another damn book. At the height of Britney's trauma. It's my turn to shine. I'm going to write a book. It's unbelievable. Speaking of Lou Taylor, number 7, Jamie loves Lou Taylor. And oh my God, we get some actual insight on their relationship throughout this book. I will never forget when Miss Lou stood up for me and said, y'all can't force her to, that baby. She was the first and only person on my team to show any support for my desire to keep the baby. They talk about Mercy Ministries, which is an organization that we've always wondered, was there any involvement there? Because Lou was adamant about that. In fact, there's speculation that Lou was actually taking away Britney's own charity to make donations instead to Mercy Ministries. So interesting to see Jamie Lynn put this in the book. I didn't expect that. But she talks about how Miss Lou staunchly defended her throughout her whole career there. Sorry, just adjusting that. Throughout the turmoil, she was sort of the main vested interest in her, but also in keeping her profitable, which I found very interesting right there. Miss Lou became a mentor to me, teaching me financial planning and budgeting to keep me solvent. We continued to build our relationship, and she was a big help to me in those first few months. I knew she was someone I could rely on. Her support was invaluable, especially at the time when my relationship with my folks was just beginning to mend. Miss Lou's take charge attitude appealed to me and was frankly refreshing. She goes on to talk about her bulldozing and dynamic personality that served her well, and that she made sure I got the things I needed to improve my quality of life. So basically, Lou drops in at some points, like just at Jamie Lynn's new house, and buys her a French press and whatever else she needs to feel like a woman, an independent woman. And it's just really shocking to see how Miss Lou swooped in and became a surrogate mom. and really wrapped her claws into this community. And Jamie Lynn just seems so dim that she can't even process the idea of, maybe that was for her beneficial, own financial benefit, right? She sort of alludes it here, right? She says it, my keeping me profitable. She even says it later in the book. I guess I didn't grab the one where she acknowledges, like, Lou came to have a hard talk with me, and I realized that she didn't make money unless I made money. It's like, yeah, shouldn't that be like a huge red flag? But no. With no children of her own and my unique needs at the time, Miss Lou and I developed a rapport that was beyond professional. Ooh. I cherished having someone in my corner whose job was to put my business concerns first and coach me on how to secure my future. But I got a sense that Mama may have struggled with the closeness. So there you have Lou and Mama, clearly, according to Jamie Lynn. Oh, there was some competition there, but you really do get some insight there. That's not a lot more, but that's pretty much it on the relationship. But it's very clear who's controlling what in this situation. Now, I want to go to number, where are we at? Number 6, we were at. Number 6 of the most insane revelations. Jamie Lynn Spears admits she had a burner phone while she was pregnant. But what's so interesting about this is just like the irony is lost on her. She talks about how she needed to ensure viable communication with the people she trusted. So she drove to Walmart and bought burner phones. These burner phones came in handy, and I changed the SIM cards for security and spoke with a few friends. I locked myself in the cabin's bathroom and used one of my burner phones to call Diane, her friend. Does all this read interestingly to you? Like, couldn't this all be written by Britney when she was stuck? Using the burner phone, she and I had several conversations, developing a long-term plan of how to get out. Imagine if Britney had had that luxury. Here's Britney struggling to get anybody who she could trust to talk to her because your family, Jamie Lynn, are controlling her all these years. And here you are talking about the benefits of burner phones, and you can't even begin to process what it might have been like for your sister. There's so many parallels like this throughout where Jamie complains about being locked up and isolation and all this. The paparazzi won't leave me alone. She sort of gets the smallest versions of everything Britney goes through, but she never can connect the dots to be like, God, it must have been so hard on my sister. Instead, it's, why weren't you there for me? No one's giving me attention. Britney, I need you here. Well, Britney, you're too erratic for me. I need you to be less erratic, Britney. It's maddening. Number 5, we get to learn about brother Brian, who's a complete failure and can't keep a job, guys. We weren't allowed to half-ass anything. For Brian, this was difficult to achieve. He was a solid athlete, a moderate student, but his performance wasn't up to Daddy's standards. I think because Brian, it was hard for Brian because he wasn't the star athlete Daddy wanted him to be. Brian was trying to find his place in the world. Brian had a difficulty holding his job. So here we have a guy who can't hold a job, and what happens to him? Well, he's soon involved in the business of Britney. Brian discovered that practical, hands-on learning was easier than classroom instruction. He was taken under the wing of Britney's management team to learn the basics of brokering deals and managing people. So it's unclear, is that TriStar management? Lou Taylor's same management? She never really connects those dots for us, but we're left to assume, yeah, Brian went and worked for TriStar. Brian's life was just as crazy, but without the fame. He was still struggling with work and even worked for both me and Britney at times. So here you have a guy who, as you said previously in the book, can't hold a job, can't find his place, is a failure, and he's in charge of all of Britney and Jamie Lynn's business. You can't make this stuff up, I guess. I mean, you can, she is, but it's just like, even she is admitting these things, and I'm like, why are you writing this? Why are you throwing your brother under the bus like this? And your sister. It's unbelievable. So I couldn't believe this one. Number 4, Jamie Lynn thinks she has the same talent as Britney Spears. You heard it right. My sister's voice was throaty and strong, while mine was fluid and controlled. People said we were different, but equally as talented. I'd like to see the receipts. I'd like to see the receipts of who said that. But my true love was acting until she later tries to become a country singer, and that's a whole chapter I'll break down in my longer review. That gave me such a headache for ups and downs of that. Oh, my God. All right, we're getting to number 3, okay? Jamie Lynn is obsessed with Britney Spears, and her became like a second mother to me. Here's I just found 5 of them. I grew up feeling like I had 2 mothers. My sister was still a mother to me. Britney, being Britney, was nurturing a loving mother figure I cherished. Sweet, adoring sister I admired. As I mentioned earlier, my sister was a mother figure to me. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, she's not your mother. She's your sister. Stop treating her like she's your mother. You are so, like, dying for her attention, everybody's attention. It's just shocking to see this. It's so shocking throughout the whole book how much Jamie Lynn demands that Britney be there because you need to give me the attention I deserve because you are my second mother. How dare you leave me when I needed you most? The most glaring and shocking example of that is revelation number 2. Jamie never told Britney that she was pregnant. Now, we go through the whole pregnancy and how that's revolved in the long review. So if you want more details, you can go there. But they wanted to hide her pregnancy. It's too risky to tell Britney about the baby. I needed her more than ever, and she wasn't able to help me in my most vulnerable time. She blames her for this. She blames Britney for her erratic behavior, that she couldn't be there when Jamie Lynn needed her. That's where this comes from, guys. That's where the deep-seated bitter, resentment, jealousy, it all comes from. You weren't there for me, Britney. I needed you and I got knocked up at 16. Britney's condition was spiraling into something more concerning. They were concerned her instability at the time made her untrustworthy. I went along with what my team told me to do because I was a minor and didn't want to create any more issues. To this day, the hurt of not being able to tell my sister still lingers. And recently she just went on. We'll talk more about this interview, guys. We'll talk more about this interview. But here she is, sort of revealing that she never told her sister, and then has the gall to be like, "Why weren't you there for me?"
What happened when Britney finally found out?
I imagine that, like, no matter what and where or what kind of state of mind that any of us were in, like, that's hard. I just can't believe that they wouldn't have made sure she knew. Like, I just can't believe that somebody would have done that.
Did you guys ever have a conversation about it?
I think that maybe she might forget that I was a kid then, and she might feel like I also didn't tell her. Mm-hmm. So I think at first that was like something that maybe was harmful and hurtful to her. But I was hurting just because I was kind of pissed off. Like, I want my sister here. Why didn't she come to save me?
Why didn't she come to save me? That's where a lot of this comes from. And I got to go to number 1 revelation of this book is just the lack of empathy and understanding of Jamie Lynn towards Britney's most recent testimony. She labels chapter 13 my testimony and finally speaks out now that Britney has had the chance to speak out. But this particular thing just shocked me. My sister's diatribe assigns blame without any self-reflection. She's calling her plea, her testimony that she finally got the strength to tell us all and tell the world that the world, that her family and her lawyers and everyone were like avoiding all costs to let her do. Her diatribe of blame without any self-reflection. Jamie Lynn, this is why we hate you. The fact that you're calling it a diatribe, which is a bitter verbal attack. Bitter? Yeah, you can't understand why she's bitter? Like, this whole chapter, 13, like, the book's bad. Everything's bad. And then there's a phase in the book where she goes and talks about her own life and everything else. But then it comes back on 13, and I was just gobsmacked at chapter 13. The bitterness, the anger, the seething from Jamie Lynn as she responds to Britney's diatribe is unbelievable. And I'm going to read some portions here because I can't, you have to, this is news. At no point did my sister lift the veil on what or who is truly responsible for her challenges. By excluding this, she allowed an onslaught of hate that put me and my family at risks. Her references to me left me reeling. Dude, she doesn't know. How is she supposed to know? You dumb cow. What on earth do you think is happening here? If she knew, she's building her legal case. She has lawyers who are protecting her best interest. You insignificant, mean girl. This is your sister. You're so worried about yourself, you can't even process or understand, oh my God, what has my sister been going through? You don't care. I helped keep Britney's emotional episodes hidden from the world until today, because now I'm going to tell everybody about all your episodes, your erratic behavior, which she mentions like a dozen times throughout this book. I continued to protect her until just recently when she decided I didn't need protecting and threw me to the proverbial media wolves. The gall of this woman! I'm saddened that her current state of mind, she's incapable of supporting me in the same way. My siblings have been traumatized by the distorted vision of my parents have loyalty and success, the impact of exposure, and the flip side of fame. I want Britney and the world to know she isn't the only one who left with scars from the early years of their delinquency manipulation. And that's what's so weird. She's acknowledging that, yeah, her parents were manipulative scumbags, but she's still blaming Britney. It's unreal. Britney's impassioned statements included the wrongdoings of everyone involved without any reference to herself. It's your fault, Britney. Shouldn't have shaved your head. That's why you're in the conservatorship for 13 years. Oh my God. At the age of 7, when I was learning what loyalty meant to my family, millions of kids were kneeling at the altar of Britney. Jealousy, jealousy, jealousy. But there were concessions, excuses, and perhaps too much tolerance. If I am guilty of anything, it's of enabling the situation to continue by not speaking up earlier in her career. In my position as Britney's sister and daughter of Jamie Lynn, I didn't want any part of the legalities established to protect her. And then she does this amazing reveal where she's like, she asked me to be a trustee of her children. This was separate from her team's request for me to reside as trustee. So, wait, so you had 2 jobs? There's another one we don't know about? Did you mean to write that? We'll have to look into that legally. But remembering that period of my life brings up the loneliness I suffered by not having my sister there for me during the one time in my life I desperately needed her. This is the theme of the book. This is where it all comes from. This therapy session of writing it all out there. Now we know, Jamie Lynn, you're a terrible sister who has no empathy for her sister. You keep saying you do, but it's all about me, 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 me. Now, look, Britney may have been similar, right? Britney was being famed. I'm sure maybe it went to her head. Whatever. She's talented. She deserved it. Everything she did was making it so you could live the lifestyle you live, which is to not really actually work. You keep saying you work, but you did 3 seasons of a television show. You did like a little skit show in the beginning for a couple years, and then you did 3 seasons of a TV show, and then that's pretty much all you've done. Now you've done a Netflix show recently, congrats, and you tried to do some country music with like 1 EP, but literally, my God, you know how lucky you are, Jamie Lynn, that that's all you've had to work your whole life, and you could just sell your pictures of your babies, and that's how you work? That's your work. Everything else is just a hobby, Jamie Lynn. You know that, right? It's just a hobby. No one else has that luxury. Try being a single mom for real and working 2 jobs while trying to make ends meet. And then come back to me and tell me about your plight, your struggles, etc. You owe everything to your sister. And the way you're talking right here, the world saw she was in crisis, and it appeared the conservatorship protected her at a time when she was in need. Yeah, and meanwhile, it paid for all you guys, didn't it? Paid for all the lifestyles. Who paid for the Casper's hotel room, huh? Went during the ATV accident, huh? Jamie Lynn? Oh, Jamie just did that. Jamie offered to pay for Casper's hotel room. Oh, little things like that add up, Jamie Lynn. And I bet you'd be surprised where that money came from. Oh, because my dad was working hard for Britney. I will continue to love and support her, whether there's a conservatorship or not. She wrote this almost as if she wasn't even sure if it was going to go away. She was always Team Con. It's so clear. Dealing with the shrapnel her explosive testimony blasted my way. Can you imagine hearing that testimony and your reaction is, what are they? People are going to think I'm involved. Hey, Britney, tell them I'm not involved. How dare you? Like, the ego of this woman. Oh my God. In recent text from my sister, she stated, I know it's not your fault and I'm sorry for being so angry at you. Although I'm your big sister, I need you more than you need me and always have. Do we know if that text is actually from her? At the same time, this doesn't mean you're not still guilty, Jamie Lynn. Britney's writing this being like, hoping it's not your fault, but she doesn't really know anything at this point. You just keep assuming she does. Britney continued to act erratically, and all I wanted was her interest and approval. But instead, I saw the depths of her difficulty. She was paranoid and erratic. There it is in print, though. All she wanted was her interest and approval. That's all Jamie Lynn ever wanted was her sister's interest and approval. As I mentioned earlier, my sister was a mother figure, yada, yada, yada. I can look back with new perspective, not exactly hindsight, and admit that pacifying my sister, keeping her needs met, and appeasing everyone along the way only added fuel to the fire. The fire has grown into an inferno. Oh, girl. Oh, girl, I'm going to rip you apart in the full review. If you want to see that, click it over there. We got so much more. You're going to get so mad. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because, we're just getting started, if you can believe it. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Believe Britney. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.